In today's world, there's no escaping music. Yet despite its immense presence in mainstream culture, to Muslims, music can be something quite contentious. With the increasing promiscuity and vulgarness of mainstream music, many Muslims today find themselves struggling with the topic. Yet amidst the struggle, a small group of young Muslim artists have taken it upon themselves to provide the Muslim world with an alternative. Through the use of catchy vocal backgrounds and crafty faith-based lyrics, creative Muslim artists such as Siedd, a gifted singer, and Essam, a talented rapper, have been able to produce tracks that resonate with Muslims around the world. We sat down with the pair to find out what it's like to be a Muslim artist. This is what took place.
People always ask me, what's your favorite country?
Yeah.
And it's never the place that I go to. It's
Yeah.
always about the community that you know what I mean?
So what are you trying to say about Aussies?
No, I'm trying to say that every time I come here, man, especially Sydney, they all show love, you know?
Allah,
So,
Allah.
you
We
know,
love you too, man. We love you too. How about you, Syed? How do you like Australia?
For me, man, I'm all the way down in Canada, so right now it's like just snowing like crazy over there.
Yeah.
So for me, Australia's just got the best weather all year round.
Look, man, you came at a bad time though. You came at a bad time. We actually got some bushfires going right around the country in New
that's
South
crazy.
Wales. So
That's crazy,
the
man.
fire's here.
Just pray for the rain, man.
Allah look after, man. Pray for rain. Pray for rain.
Pray for the
I
rain.
mean,
Hashtag pray for the
Alhamdulillah.
rain. Come on.
So to our viewers and to our audience, we know you guys as the world's best rapper, Essam, and the world's best singer, Syedd. But I guess there's more to you guys, right? And there's more that we'd want to know. So to start off the podcast, we got a round of awkward questions. How's that sound?
Well,
Exciting.
Always
Exciting.
ready for awkward questions, right?
All right then. Okay then. We're going to kick it off and whoever wants to start can start. What was your last Google search? And be honest, we'll check your phones.
Probably Syed.
You checked yourself out. MashaAllah, MashaAllah, yeah.
I gotta see what he's up to these days, you know?
MashaAllah.
Yeah.
And what about you, Essam?
I was looking at flights.
Flights.
I was looking at flights,
MashaAllah.
yeah.
Flights back out of Australia. You can't wait to leave this country. What's going on, man?
Yeah,
You just got here, brother. You just got here.
Yeah, no, I was trying to see if I could extend my stay.
Allah, Allah.
You know
That's
what
beautiful,
I mean?
man.
So,
What's your favorite nasheed or your most played nasheed right now? And you got to be honest. You got to be real. Your most played a cappella, nasheed, spoken word, whatever it is.
For me, I grew up listening to a lot of different like nasheed artists. I mean, my mom used to be having those cassettes, so she used to be having those nasheeds. So for me, it was like a range of artists, but like from like Zayn Bika to Yusuf Islam to Dawood Warnsby.
And your most favorite?
But my most favorite one is probably like I remember the one I used to listen to a lot was Zayn Bika's Allah Knows.
Allah knows.
Allah knows.
Yeah, I used to.
Now, if you make it to Jannah and we ask Allah to make us all of the inhabitants of Jannah, what will be the first thing you would ask for? And you can ask for whatever you want in Jannah.
A studio.
I actually believe you, man. Actually, yeah. Say.
Right now, I could use a good Tim Hortons coffee. No.
Ice cap,
brother.
extra cream.
Come on, brother.
I'm
Come
kidding.
on, let me get one too.
I don't know, to be honest. Like, I can't. I don't know what I would. Actually, I mean, one thing. Okay, I mean, I don't want to get all sentimental here, but I
Yeah.
mean, definitely, it's like obviously meeting Allah, like you know,
Allah,
just
Allah.
and seeing.
And that's the best thing you can.
Yeah.
That's the best thing you'll ever
Yeah,
get in
yeah,
Jannah. That's deep, man. That's beautiful, man. Allah bless you. Now, another awkward question: do you delete YouTube comments? Let's be honest.
I've done
You've
it a
done
few
it?
times. Yeah,
You've
I've done
done
a
it?
few times.
Islam?
I actually have a filter
Oh,
on
wait.
there. Sorry,
Yeah?
I have a filter on there. So if anybody swears or stuff like that, it automatically gets.
Yeah,
filtered
keep it
out.
PG. Keep it PG. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
Islam.
I never delete nothing.
You never delete nothing. Keep it raw, yeah.
Yeah, keep it raw, man.
All
You wanna
right,
talk,
yeah.
we talk. I talk back. You
Allah
talk
bless
to
you,
me. I
brother.
talk back.
Allah
Alright,
bless
come on.
you. Now, to start off the podcast,
Mm.
I want to ask you guys a question, and feel free to answer it as you wish. Why do you perform? Whoever wants to take it first can take it.
I guess for me, like, why do I perform? I remember I actually was like before I started, I actually kind of like did that question to myself, like asked myself, like, why do I even want to do this? And I guess for me, it's like, besides everything, like obviously, like in life, you wanna make a living, and of course, you know, provide for your family. But like aside from all of that, like for me, it's like it was like I wanted to like music has always been my sort of like just passion growing up, and it's just something like I'm able to express things through like my writing, which I
Yeah.
can't like just through a conversation. Like I'm not a very good conversationalist, but like through writing, for some reason, I can kind of put my thoughts in a certain way. And so I've always wanted to kind of like make people feel something. So when they're listening to my songs or just reading the lyrics, I want it to just hit them, like pretty much like pierce them right in the heart.
Wow.
And so that's kind of like, to be honest, why I kind of wanted to do that. I want people to feel something. And
Wow.
and like, you know, that quote by, I guess, Maya Angelou, which is like, you know, people don't forget, people forget what you give to them. People will forget what you say to them, but people will never forget how you made them feel, right?
Wow,
So
that's
kind
deep, man.
That's deep, man.
That's beautiful. Islam.
The reason why I perform, or the reason why I started performing, and the reason why I started writing, because for me it was an escape from the reality of the hardships I was going through in my life. And I remember, like, there would be nights where I'll just be like, I'll go visit my mom. Like, I'll go to school. After school, I'll go visit my mom at the hospital, and then there'll be an event that same night. And, you know, I'll check up on my mom. She's in the hospital. I'm like, yo, I'm about to go, you know what I'm saying, do this performance. And I go on stage, and I'm literally talking about everything that I'm going through in my life at that moment on stage. And it was a way for me to just talk to people, you know what I mean, in a creative way. It's like, because what it is, like, our writing is like secrets. Like when you present it in a beautiful way to the audience, is like, oh, that's amazing, you know, that's cool, that's beautiful. But in reality, is you're telling them and you're giving them your pain and your trauma, the experiences that you're going through, you know. And especially like for like young men, we're not taught to talk about our emotions, right? So for me, like, just creative writing and you know, just, you know, performing is a way for me to give me an understanding of these emotions that I feel, and being vulnerable. And then you notice that when you're vulnerable, others have the willingness to be vulnerable as well, you know? So that's the reason why I started performing, you know?
That's beautiful. So I feel like there's a lot of need for expression amongst you brothers, the need to just tell people how you feel and inspire that positive change, right? But when it comes to this reason, and when it comes to this question, why do I perform? I feel like the reason why I want to ask this question, because it comes back to your intentions, right? And especially in this field, and you guys would know more than anyone else, when you get into this field, it feels like there's so many other external influences. Oh, I want to do this for the fame. I want to do this for the status. I want to do this for people to praise me and anything like this. So it's very easy for your good intentions to sidetrack very, very quickly when you're in this field, especially when you start getting the views, you start getting the likes, you start getting the followers. So on saying that, what keeps you guys grounded? What gives you that sincerity, that sincerity of purpose? What helps you the most?
It's tough.
Now, it's a tough question, and it's a battle. It's a constant battle. But is there anything you guys do to really just keep yourselves in check?
I think for me personally, my key thing is like environment. Because like, you know, they say like, you know, if you spend enough time in a barbershop, you're bound to get a haircut, you know? So it's kind of like where you kind of surround yourself, who you have around you.
Yeah.
And so sometimes, like I remember earlier on, like there was times where I was kind of like, I felt myself kind of maybe just like, why am I doing this, or all of that stuff? But because I've had people like close to me from before even I ever did any sort of music thing, any sort of nasheed, I still have those people around me, and they're very knowledgeable, right? I guess about Islam, and they have a really good grasp of, I guess, of knowledge more than me, and I think that's kind of key. You want to keep somebody around you who kind of knows about I guess our religion more than you do, you know.
That's beautiful.
And so because sometimes, you know, we sway this way, and you know, that's no matter how strong your faith is. This is life. It's, you know.
That's beautiful. I actually had the privilege of meeting some of the people that you're talking about. I had the privilege of meeting Hikmah.
Hikmah, yeah.
What a beautiful brother. And for those that don't know, when he drops that line, Hikmah coming back, it's time to celebrate. He's talking about Hikmah.
Hikmah moving back, it's time to celebrate.
That guy's a beautiful brother, and I felt like you had that relationship where he's keeping you grounded. At the same time, he's got that knowledge, and you want to surround yourself with those kinds of people. And that's on point, bro. That's on point.
Yeah, definitely.
Islam.
So for me, I look for inspiration in the children, because you see, as we get older, we start to become mature, and then there's pressures in society. Oh, I have to be mature now, you know what I mean? No more joking around, no more experience in life, whatever. But when you look at children, they're like the the essence of the heart. You know what I mean? They're the essence of who we. They're pure. They're the essence of who we should strive to be. Right? Because obviously, you know, like we get older and then our ego starts to inflate, and then, you know, we go through all these experiences whatsoever. But for me, it's like interacting with the children and speaking to them, right? It just reminds me, okay, that's who I want to be like, right? And there's so many other lessons that I've learned from children over the years, and even seeing like somebody perform poetry for the first time, seeing their nervousness, and right, that reminds you, it's like, you know, like yo, that's the intentions are pure. He's just on there, she's just on there, just performing for the first time, nervous, and it reminds you of where you started for the first time. Like you weren't always 100%. A pro or whatever the case may be at what you do. You know, we all had a point where we choked on stage, shaking, 100%. Nervous, you know. So just reminding yourself where you come from.
Right, that is powerful, because even me, like from my own personal experience, I remember when you first start, you haven't got that fitna of fame. There's no woman approaching you. There's no people asking for your photos. There's none of that, because you just started, right? And you're grounded, you're humbled, and you know, like when it comes to sincerity, I'm not going to say that, you know, you're sincere at the start, but it's a lot easier because you haven't had that exposure yet to all that fitna, wherever it's coming from. When you get the views, when you get the likes, when you get the followers, it's all still yet to come. So keeping yourself grounded by just looking back at your past and knowing how humble you're meant to be, and knowing that if it wasn't for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the way He blessed you to get to where you are, you wouldn't be here, man.
Looking at children and seeing they don't have an ounce of arrogance, you know what I mean?
That's
and
beautiful,
like
man.
that's who we got to strive to be,
beautiful.
you know?
Now, I'm going to drop a big one, and this is a heavy one, and I feel like I hear it, it's a conversation amongst artists, right? And it's a conversation amongst those on YouTube. Now, the second a Muslim steps up to the podium, he steps up to the platform, you know, spoken word, rap, singing, I guess there's this underlying stigma that since you're standing here, you're a poster Muslim, right? And you got to be that role model now. So people are looking up to you now, and you're in that position where you're I guess you could say an influencer, and I don't like using that word, but that's the reality. You're influencing people. Now, how do you guys respond to this? Should someone who steps up to the plate, who steps up to becoming a nasheed artist or a Muslim spoken word artist or a Muslim rapper, should he have that tied to him? Should he be now expected to be a role model for those that look up to him? It's a big one, but I guess it exists.
Yeah, I think okay. There's this factor about, I guess, humans in general, like you know your human nature, where it's like, for example, like, I mean, we all know kind of like, you know, if we all, like, everybody has expectations, I think, for a leader, for example, right? So like, for example, like if the average person does something compared to where if the president of a country does something, right? They'll get probably like impeached for that, you know, whatever it is, right? And I think it's because like human beings, whenever we look up to somebody, we expect a certain, you know, like, I guess responsibility, I guess that's the word. And so for me though, like initially, like, I mean, I don't like the word influencer at all. For some reason, we don't like it. For some reason, I just never have liked it for some reason. And but like, I guess I know I guess what people are trying to say with that term. And it's like, you definitely, I think, even though we don't want that responsibility, you have it. Like, it's because like I can think of myself growing up, and for example, listening to like, you know, Yusuf Islam or like Zayn Bika, you know, at least in the nasheed world, right? And you know, even though like I was just listening to their nasheeds, I was still looking up to them. So if I saw them in person, for example, like I'd be kind of looking up to them, and you know, I have a certain sort of expectation from them. You know what I mean?
Become like a mentor, a role model.
Exactly.
It just happens.
It's subconsciously, right? And it does that. And so for me, like now thinking, like I just have to think from that perspective. And so for me personally, what I do is I don't really take much of an active role in my social media as I probably should as like an artist, but for me it's always been kind of like a conscious effort for that part, because I definitely don't feel like I'm like a role model for anybody. So I try to I want people to know about me through my music. That's it. Right? So that's why, like, some people are like, you know, why don't you do Instagram lives more often, or, you know, or do some vlogging or all of these things. And for me, I've done like a conscious effort because I know myself, right? And it's just like, I mean, I can talk on and on and on and on, right? But like, it's like, I just want to give you something specific and something which I feel could benefit you.
Part of me, I guess, it's kind of scary in a sense when you think of it like, oh my God, I done something for the Muslim community, and now all of a sudden I have this expectation tied to my back, and it's a scary thing. But I feel like Allah put us in this position where, like, I don't mean to be blunt, but it's like Allah gave you this fame, and now it's going to be a test. How are you going to use it? Like, you're going to have people looking up to you. You're going to have kids looking up to you.
Yeah, seriously.
So what do you reckon, Islam?
For me, I'm always going to, just as anyone else, you know what I mean? I'm always going to, you know, try my best to be the best version of myself. But what the word al-ins, you know, the human, it derives from what? Like the one who's forgetful, right? That's within the essence of our creation, right? So at the end of the day, we got to understand that we're going to make mistakes, and this standard that the Muslim community creates is not realistic. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that should be something that should be addressed. Because we've seen what happens when people attach their faith to individuals,
and they fall from grace.
And what happens, and that person makes a mistake, or whatever the case may be, or he did something wrong. Now, you know,
if your iman was tied to this person, your faith was tied to this person, you fall.
That's it, you know? So for me, what it is, it's like, I don't know, man. You know, like I'm just myself when it comes to me and the people. Or even my presence online, I'm just going to be myself, you know? I'm not going to create this false persona. I'm going to talk about these experiences even when my faith is low, you know what I'm saying? Or I talk about all of these things, and I put out this rawness because at the end of the day, there's other people out there that's going through the same experiences, you know what I mean? And they could relate to it, you know? So for me, just telling my story with no cap, you know?
No, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And I like what you said, how you say that you're going to speak from the heart. You're going to be real. Like, look, we go through our own challenges. We go through our own problems. We're not perfect, right? We go through these problems. I'm going to try my best because I know there's kids looking up to me. I'm going to try my best to be the best role model I can be. But at the same time, just understand that there's going to be times when I may fall from grace. I may fall from this podium, and I might slip up. And on saying that, when you guys write your lyrics, you know, I see that you are open and raw about your past, but is there any other thought process that goes into writing your lyrics? Like, what gives you inspiration, I guess?
I would say for me, like, I mean, aside from like, for me, sometimes whenever I'm writing a song, I usually write about whatever I'm feeling at the moment, right? So like whatever I'm feeling at the moment, and then for example, like I guess for example, like Back to You. I remember for that one was slightly a bit different because I remember I was listening to like a lecture by Sheikh, I guess Imam Umar Suleiman, right? And near kind of the end of the lecture, he mentions this dua.
Is that the one? Allah.
Yeah, Allah. Exactly.
I won't continue because I don't want to ruin the song, but.
Oh, that sounds good. You should be a singer as well, man.
Thanks, brother. Thanks, man.
So that Allahumma inni as'aluka al-huda wat-tuqa wal-afafa wal-ghina. So that dua, he mentions at the end, and he mentioned how it's like the most comprehensive dua that the Prophet, peace be upon him, taught us. And so I wanted to memorize it, so I printed it out and I just put it on my wall in my studio, in my room. And like a week later, I was trying to make a new nasheed, and I was just sitting down, and I kind of looked up at the wall. And then I just started that dua part first, and then I wrote like the beginning, like the I've been grateful for much of my life. And then at that time I was just kind of like I wanted to just that dua, the meaning of the actual supplication. I wanted to kind of explain that, except using my own experience in life, right? Like the struggles that I've been going through, and then just hoping that somebody else across the world kind of also relates to it.
And that was actually I would say one of your most successful, was it?
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. That's awesome. Islam. My favorite line from you, man, I think would be trying to reach the masses like Muhammad's nation. Peace be upon him. Every poem is a dedication. that was hot, man. I love that.
Still trying to reach the masses, one like Muhammad's nation. Peace be upon him. Every poem is a dedication.
There's a funny thing about it, it's Faith, so that's from Faith. Is the funny thing about that was my least favorite track before I put it out, you know? And I actually wrote it like before Fajr during Ramadan of like 2018 or something. And I made the track, and then I put it out there, and then it was like people's most favorite track on the album.
Man,
and it's crazy. It's always what your least favorite. That's
seriously, just randomly.
You never expect it, you know. Your most favorite might be somebody's least favorite, you know. But in terms of my creative process, I mean, similar to what Saeed said, man, it's like I'm just responding to the emotions I'm feeling. And not only in that moment, sometimes you're not ready to talk about these emotions, and not with the people, but with yourself. Like you don't understand the emotions. I have pieces that I couldn't write about until like years later. It would just come up from like my subconscious mind. Like even like my Ummi track, you know, like I was in the studio with Elias in Guelph, and we were creating something, and I had no intentions to make it a song about my mother. It just came out. It's almost like it orbited around the you know what I'm saying, my mind, your mind, and it just came out when it was ready, you know.
Exactly.
That's like tawfiq, man. I think that's like tawfiq from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like even me, when I used to write poetry, I wrote poems in like 2 hours. Yeah. And then other poems would take like months. And it's like Allah. If Allah's not involved, like it's not happening,
bro,
man.
That piece, Ummi, I wrote in an hour.
Allah.
But by the time Elias finished the vocal backing, and by the time I finished writing it, I walked. I was like, "Yo, I'm done." He's like, "I'm done." All right, cool. And we recorded it. But I have things like "West is My Home," where it took me like 6 months to finish, and nobody knows that, you know. No, man. Yeah.
Exactly. All of this, like, it's just, and sometimes just very random, right? So, for example, like for me, like from when I started, I remember like I guess you're a poet as well, so you probably understand this as well. It's like, you know, some people keep like, whether it's like a notebook or like, you know, like a document, pretty much whatever. Sometimes like a line will come to your mind, right? And you quickly just jot it down, and then maybe like a year or 2 years later, like you're just scrolling through it, and I'll just start a song because of that, or like nasheed because of that one line.
Wow, that's beautiful. You actually reminded me of a brother. I think it's very. I make mention of him, Ibrahim Jabir. That brother.
I'm not going. That's the best poet in the game, man. That's big, bro, man.
I'll be honest. I was with him in New York City, right? And it was like I had an event, right? I'm speaking to the crowd, and I thought like it was my event. I was going to give some poetry, and then right before I'm about to give my poetry, they say we have an announcement. Ibrahim Jabir is in the building, and we want Ibrahim Jabir to come and give some poetry. I had no idea who he was. I've never heard of him. Like he didn't really have that reach back then. And then he comes and he sits down, and he starts, and I'm sitting right next to him, and then I stop and I'm like, this guy is killing it. This to the extent like he keeps going. He done Scripture My Hopes, which in my opinion is
that's my favorite piece, man.
It's deadly. It's
I want to know what it's like to walk to Mecca to Medina by foot, but I'm too busy with life.
I want to know Abraham like a father, and I'll be the sacrifice. I want to know Jerusalem like the true followers of Christ.
He goes, I want to know what it's like to be in Adam's height. He goes, I want to know what it's like to sit with Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and reading one of my poems. Like it's deep. It's deep. By the end of his poem, I was like, I don't want to do my poem anymore. I told him I was ready to go off, and I hadn't even started. And that guy, mashallah.
Where's he from?
New York City.
New York.
I thought he was from Jersey.
Come on, bro. I'm from Australia. It's all New York City. It's all New York City.
On an island in the middle of nowhere.
So on saying that, right? When it comes to mainstream music, let's be real right now. Do you guys have a chance? And I'm sorry for being blunt, but do you guys have a chance to compete against mainstream music?
I don't.
And is that even the intention?
I mean, it's. I mean, if like, you have to. I guess like if you're like any sort of area which you're going towards, like you have to use those tools for that, right? So like the tools, like I guess I'm saying for like mainstream is there's a certain sort of content you should be putting out, right? So for me, it's like I don't even like initially. I remember when I was starting off. You know, I was kind of looking up to that, you know? But for me, it's like what I'm doing is my own separate thing. It's like, it's not like, I don't compare to that. And I don't want to, like, I don't want to be compared to that. Or even, to be honest, even to the, like in the nasheed world. For me, it's like, I just want to just pave my own sort of way.
Do your own thing.
Yeah, just kind of create my own style, my own vibe. And just go forward with that. But like, I mean, I know what you're saying in that sense. Like, I mean.
Because in essence, it's like a competition, right? You've got. I don't mean it in like the dunyawi sense that it's a competition, but it's like we got young kids out there. We want to get their ears before they get their ears. You know, we want to give them with the positivity. We want to give them with the deen. We want to give them with the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam before some rapper comes out and gives him, you know, fame, money. You need this car. You need this chick. You need this and that. You know?
Oh, I see. You're pretty much asking like how do
you have
are you able to kind of fight through that noise?
That's
and
what I'm
kind
trying
of
to say. Especially with the limitation.
I definitely think so. I 100% think so. You can get through that noise. And like I've seen it, like alhamdulillah, with my stuff. I've seen it with Essam stuff and like you know Ilyas and you know just it's all of these people people who are doing their own sort of thing, and it's like when you create something like something powerful, people feel it, you know. And it doesn't matter if you have there's some mainstream artists, they have $1 million budgets, $100,000 for like, let's say, one song, but their song, like people don't remember it after okay, it might hit the radio because they're pushing it, they're pushing advertisement, so it might stand there for like a month, but after that you don't hear one person hearing about it. Whereas like if you're trying to send like a powerful message, it'll last for generations, right? And it's kind of, I guess, how you define that sort of thing. It's like, are you trying to reach for short term or long term, right? So like Michael Jackson, at one point he was like the king of pop, right? And like I can't remember the last time I heard his name, you know. But like, I mean, sometimes, of course,
this is the dunya, brother. This is the dunya. You come, you go, you reach fame.
You come and you go, and then so the point though is like, you want to just leave a good message. So you may be forgotten, but that message just keeps carrying on, and then it kind of like, you know, you get, I guess, that's something good cherry from that.
And Essam, I know that you're actually played on the radio in South Seattle, and one of the best
in Seattle,
in Seattle.
Yeah. KXP, shout out to KXP for showing love to the local artists.
Is that for free? That was just like a promo for free, but hit us up for the bill, man. Hit us up for the bill.
Man. Shout out to One Pass too, man. But you know what it is? So when it comes to this Muslim, I say Muslim nasheed or artist or whatever you want to call it. We got so many different titles. But anyways, I feel like we're always talking about, yo, we want to be an alternative to the music that's out there, this, that. I feel like, why is it that we want to settle for less, you know what I'm saying? And something that's set, why can't we be at the front line, the forefront, and innovate, not bid'ah, but innovate in terms of ideas and creativity, and be the best at what we do? You see what I'm saying? And catch the ears of youngins that are for sure going to listen to whatever's out there in the mainstream, because that's what they're exposed to majority of the time, you know? And it's interesting, man. It's like, even, you know, the Spotify yearly report. Like, I remember you were telling me earlier how you saw what I posted. Like, this is one of the, and a few people actually, you know, and specifically one of the young brothers, like, he posted the people he listened to the most in 2019. And it's a bunch of the biggest rappers in the mainstream industry. And then there's me, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, yo, like, I'm nowhere near. I'm nowhere near them. But if I'm able to create a sound that people rock with, then alhamdulillah, you know. And like you said, what you said is very interesting. It's like people will forget your name, but they're not gonna forget how you made them feel, and then that message that they listen to in the words that you put out, it's going to have an impact on them for the rest of their lives, whether it be positive or negative.
Just like now, I remember, I think last year I was in the UK, and it was just right after a show, and then this, like, I think about, like, maybe, like, she's like 14-year-old. She came up and she was just tearing and just crying, right? And for me, that was just like a shocking moment, right? I had I'd never experienced that before, and then like, and for me, it's like I guess knowing my audience and stuff. Like, I know there's, like, you know, there's a lot of the audience, you know, they maybe listen to, like, let's say, like, Drake or, like, you know, all of these mainstream performers, but then they do listen to my tracks as well, right? And so from, like, I guess to answer your question, like, I guess now that I think about it, it kind of is kind of like beating, like, kind of fighting through the noise, you know? So they don't, and you're right about, I like what Essam said, how we're not trying to make an alternative, you know? This is like the mainstream, they're producing their content, we're producing our content, right? It's not like, we're not an alternative to that. This is our art, right? This is our thing, and this is what we're trying to put out, right? And so.
Man, Allah bless you guys. That's really good to hear. Especially when I seen that Spotify thing, I was like, man, it's jokes, right?
I was shocked, bro. It was like Nipsey Hussle, Drake. I'm like, what?
It's funny, but at the end of the day, it's true. Like, these are the boys we want to reach to. These are the young girls that we want to reach to, and it's so important that we give that alternative, I guess. So we don't want to compare ourselves to them by no means, because at the end of the day, we could perhaps say that these people, we don't even want to compare ourselves to them because of the messages that they're putting out. Certain artists, we don't want to blanket everyone, but certain artists, we don't want to be even associated with them. Now, moving on, I think this is something that is on the minds of every artist or every every Muslim that's on the platform, on the podium, we get haters, right? We get haters. We across the spectrum, wherever they are, wherever they're from, we get haters. I've experienced it. I'm sure you guys have experienced it. Islam, everyone loves you. No, I'm sure you get haters too, bro. So
Hold up.
how do you guys, in your positions, respond to criticism, or do not even bother?
That's kind of that's definitely a tough one, but you wanna go? I think Islam's
I don't know what I'm going to say. I literally don't know what I'm going to say. I was just going to talk, and whatever
Okay.
comes out, comes out.
Whatever comes
But if you
out.
you already articulated
I
something,
mean-
that's cool.
I mean, for me, okay. I guess for me, like, how do I respond to criticism?
And there's two types of criticism, right? It's
Yeah.
not like there's,
Yeah.
there's the...
To be honest, though, like in general, though, I think people understand that I'm trying to like. For me, all my stuff is vocals only, you know, and anything that like I consult with people whenever before I release, generally in general, and there's like an understanding of what I'm kind of doing. So for me, it's like I just, and I don't do this for anybody, to be honest. I just do it because I'm just comfortable with it, right? It's like something that like I've wanted to like I know there's a lot of Muslims, for example. I grew up listening to vocals only, and pretty much like whatever else my mom kind of and my family used to put on.
What
You know?
a good upbringing, mashallah. Give
But,
props
like,
to his mother.
yeah,
Props to his mother.
But you know,
Allah preserve your family,
so
man.
but I do remember that growing up. You know, I remember I used to be like when I was in school in Toronto, right? We used to be listening to some songs that were on the radio, and then now growing up, I'm like, okay, so that's what they were actually saying, right? But and then so like for me, like now thinking back, I wanted to kind of create something where it's like in the vocals only, I wanted to create some sort of content where it's like, it's where the vocal, the background, I didn't want it to be a distraction to the lyrics.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I feel like,
Not cheesy.
right? Huh?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
so
feel like
easy.
sometimes with, why, the fact that we're trying to make it vocals only, we're like, I remember like, for some of my songs, let's say, I have maybe like a ooh, 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 or ah, ah, or something like that, something going on. Yeah, stuff like that. But you know what? I feel like sometimes it's just, these things are so, like, sometimes they come so much to the forefront where it becomes distracting to the message that I'm trying to convey. So what I'm trying to do more and more, like in my production, is I'm trying to make the background less distracting, and so the message can get across. And sort of the backing track is just like a vehicle for the message to kind of get through, like in the form of a song.
That's a good way to think about it, man. That's a really
Yeah.
good way. Islam, how do you
Yeah,
deal with
well
the
taken.
haters?
So for me, it's just like, I don't know, like I don't, once in a while, if I'm in the mood, I'll probably just respond. Like,
With a meme or something?
no, I always like I had this brother DM me, and he was like, "Hey, brother, music is haram. This, that," and I'm like, I'm not gonna explain myself. I just responded. I said, "What's music?" And I was just kind of like, I'm like, bro, like,
I guess what you're saying, like, when it comes from that place, you're not going to respond to it.
there's no point,
But
man. Yeah.
I guess if it comes from like a position of authority, right? So you were speaking about you surround yourself with people of
Yeah,
knowledge.
yeah,
When it
yeah.
comes, and even Islam, you were telling me you surround yourself with people of knowledge that guide the way. So
Yeah.
if they're telling you, all right, this is your boundaries,
Yeah.
you're sweet. So I guess
Yeah,
it
yeah.
comes back to that.
And
If-
we sat down with people, what I'm saying, before we got into this. I sat down with the Sheikh who studied fiqh, you know what I mean? And he gave us a go. And just to kind of bounce back, it's like, yo, like, and another reason why I don't put the disclaimer, because you feel comfortable listening to my work, listen to it.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then you know what I mean, you don't.
it's not for you, I guess.
Yeah, just
It's
don't
not
listen
for
to
you.
it, you know?
But I guess, mashallah, you're reaching, I guess, from what I see and what I
Mm.
perceive, you're reaching the right people that need to be reached, I guess, and you're giving that positivity out there. Now, I want to wrap things up on a really deep note, inshallah. What kind of legacy would you want to have left behind when it comes to your music? What kind of change would you have wanted to see when your time's up?
At the end of the day, like our time, like you said, our time
Our
is
time
gonna
will
pass.
come to an end, yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, there's gonna come a time where like at the end of the day, the torch gets passed down, and so with that being said, like we gotta plant the seed. You know what I mean? Like what we gotta do is plant the seed and nurture the seed, water it, give it everything it needs in order to become a tree.
Yeah.
And we may not be alive to reap the fruits in our lifetime. You see what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, it's like, okay, I'm creating content, I'm putting my work out there. It's cool for now, but how am I going to create something that's going to last generations after me, God willing, inshallah, right? So like right now, like what me and a couple brothers are doing, like Petty Pro, my good
Shout out to Petty Pro.
Shout out to Petty Pro, man. That's my family. That's family. You know what I mean?
He produced, I guess he mastered, we can say, the Where Is the Love track that we had the
Yeah, he
privilege
produced
of,
Where's the Love, you know, and he produced, you know, he produces majority of my work. And in a couple of the brothers, me, Petty Pro, Ak on the Block, you know, Siedd Muzammil, M. Siddiqui, you know, the brother who does my videos. We're starting a platform. It's going to be called FMY. It's going to launch early 2020. It's going to be called FMY, which stands for Free the Minds of Youth. And what we're going to do is we're going to pretty much put on young talent.
That's
and
nice,
produce, create all of their work, get their production,
That's
you know,
nice.
with our resources, videos, all that, and give them that resource and give them a platform. You know what I'm saying?
That's beautiful.
Right? Because at the end of the day, it's like, I can't tell you I'm a voice for the voiceless. Everybody represents their own story. You know what I mean? So I'm not gonna say I'm helping out the youth. You know what I'm saying? I'm a voice for the youth. This, that, this, that. There's gonna come a time where I can't even connect with the youth. You know what I mean? So what it is, give the pass the mic and give the youth a platform to tell their own story. You know what I mean?
I guess that's beautiful.
You know,
man. I guess.
and one of the first artists that we're looking at, one of the young acts in my town, Abdul Pele, you know, Yusuf, you know.
Yeah, I seen him, that guy. Mashallah.
Yeah, you know,
good.
so you know, I chopped it up with him a little bit.
I know a lot of street dudes following Shaitan. Seen you moving different, now he touched to put you on. Now you going crazy, you just moving in his palm. Made an enemy for everybody early on.
You just gotta realize, look, I'm not gonna be around forever. So if I want the next generations to be guided, to have that positivity, to have that sense of Islam, that sense of deen, that identity that we have carried, we can't be, I guess we can't get too comfortable. We've got to be concerned about the next generation. And that's beautiful, and I respect what you guys are doing for the young youth down in Seattle.
Yeah. And just to add on to another thing is, like, it would have been nice if there was a platform out there that reached out to us as young people, you know what I mean?
Definitely.
In our community.
That's why we got One Path Network, my brother.
Yeah, One Path. Shout out to One Path, man. But you know, you guys are in Australia, very far from North America, you know? 14.5-hour flight from LA. Middle seat is no joke. but this, yeah, man, so that's what it is, man. You know, you know.
Siedd, man.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's a tough
What do you want to leave
question.
behind?
I guess, like, for me, it's like, I guess I want to leave behind, I guess, something like where people, like, I guess my music in general, like, it's sometimes, it's like, I look back at some of the songs and I'm like, I can only write like depressing songs, man. So, but like,
Don't say that, man. You got positivity. You got.
But I guess for mine, I guess like, I guess what it kind of describes is about life and how you kind of fall and you can kind of come back up. So I guess what I want to leave behind is that whenever like somebody's kind of going down, you know, or it's just like maybe having trouble with their faith or just something like that. If they listen, maybe if they happen to kind of like maybe put on a tune, you know, they're reminded, you know, of Allah, you know, back, you know, just kind of back to like the fundamentals and the roots, right? And that you're not alone in whatever issue that you're going through. That there's other people also going through that same thing, you know, or you know, sometimes our faith is not always at its peak, you know, we're always going through these tumbles. So I guess I want to leave behind, I guess, a sense of hope for people, you know, that if you're going through some struggles, you know, there's always a way you can come back, you know. There's never a time where it's like, as long as you got breath in your body, there's still hope, you know. There's always an opportunity to get back to that, you know, closer to Allah, right? And I guess that's kind of what I want to leave behind. And for me, I'm leaving that behind, I guess, through my content, through my music. Yeah.
SubhanAllah, it's like, la taqanatu, like, don't lose hope, man. Don't lose hope. And that's a beautiful message. It's a beautiful legacy to leave behind. And you guys, it's been an honor to be with you guys. It's been a privilege. From the bottom of my heart, I really love you guys for the sake of Allah. I really do. I pray Allah uses all of us. I pray Allah uses all of us for His deen, to spread His message, to spread the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ through lyrics, through a way that the youth can relate to. And I pray that Allah puts barakah, keeps on the right path, keeps us grounded, keeps us humble, keeps us sincere. And until next time, I love you, brothers. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Alaikum salam.